Hello guys, welcome back. I hope you're all doing great. I hope everyone is having a great weekend. I just made a cup of coffee. I had a busy morning. It's a Sunday, and I thought that I would finally sit and talk about some Zoologist fragrances. So the backstory before we get into the fragrances that I have here, summer samples, 2 of them are travel size bottles of Zoologist fragrances. I have just a few in my collection. I have Nightingale, which is a sheep fragrance. I have Moth, which is a dark honey-like sort of captivating, mysterious fragrance. And I have Camel, which I really love. It's like a dusty, cold weather appropriate fragrance. And I did own a bottle of Bee in the original packaging before they switched over to these round bottles, and I sold it. And it's one of the bottles in my collection that I regret selling. Most of the bottles that I sell, I don't regret. I have no problem decluttering. I'm always decluttering. A few I do once in a while regret getting rid of, and that one I do regret selling. I didn't dislike Bee, but when I got my nose on Moth, I chose it over Bee as sort of the honey fragrance from the house that I was going to choose. While, come to think of it, I probably could have kept both because I enjoyed wearing Bee at night to bed. In any event, I sold it. Now to repurchase it, I would have to get it in the new packaging, and they're round and they don't stack up nicely with the other bottles that I have in my collection. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I wish I kept that bottle. So what I did was to purchase a travel size, since it's not a fragrance that I see myself reaching for and wearing a lot. So I got the travel size of Bee, and I got the travel size of Chameleon, which I recently mentioned in the video about ylang ylang fragrances. And the packaging is always so nice. Even the travel size bottles are very nicely packaged. And I did get a few samples, which is what we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Zoologist always sends these great samples. And this is Bee. And Bee was released in 2019. And it's a floral sort of take on honey. It is so rich. And I've heard other reviewers talk about this, and it's like stepping into a beehive. It's all about honey with this sort of floral note. I think there's orange blossom in here. So there's something sort of fresh about it, but it's an intoxicating fragrance, and I enjoy it most when it dries down. In the dry down, it reminds me of fragrances like Slow Dive by the House of Hiram Green, although this one is a brighter take on honey. There is a slight nuance of something a little bit animalic that comes along with the beeswax and the honey in the fragrance. There's beeswax in here as well. It's deep, it's sweet, but not vanillic sweetness. It's sweetness that comes along with the beeswax and the honey, which is like this glistening, ambery color sweetness. And I do enjoy it, like I said, from time to time. Not something that I'm going to reach for all the time, but something that I was enjoying wearing to bed. And so I think the travel size of Bee will suffice. And this one, Chameleon, was released in 2019. The perfumer is Daniel Precio. And the note listing is quite extensive, but at the end of the day, to my nose, this is predominantly a tropical fragrance that features ylang ylang, and you have that frangipani in there that supports that white floral or yellow floral sort of tropical feel to the fragrance. It has a very dusty wear. I do pick up on violet in here as well. It's a little powdery. It's not a loud fragrance. I don't get a banana note from the ylang ylang in here. I think others do from what I've read. I don't get that. To me, this is a very mild sort of frangipani, ylang ylang tropical fragrance. And I say mild because I have a few that fit in this sort of genre that I find to be louder, more bold fragrances. One of them being Aqua Allegoria by the House of Guerlain, Lys Soleil. That one is a tropical fragrance, but it's much bolder than something like this, which is more subdued, it's more dusty, and after about an hour, this is actually a skin scent. So I did not want to invest in a full bottle of this. Although I did own a bottle, it was purchased on Resale Market, not from the official Zoologist website. These are purchased from the official website, which with Zoologist I enjoy doing because there are a lot of fakes and imitations on eBay and Mercari. So the bottle of Chameleon that I purchased from someone was not fake, but there was an issue with the atomizer, with the sprayer that was leaking, so she took it back and I ended up with a travel size. So Chameleon has an extensive note listing, but I don't necessarily get all the notes that are listed in the note pyramid. There is ylang ylang, starfruit, there's violet leaf. Like I said, I do get a hint of violet in here. There's bergamot, lemon, pink pepper. It is a little bit fresh. The coconut, the jasmine, I'm not really picking up on coconut. It's tropical in the sense that I get the frangipani, ylang ylang sort of yellow flower, white flower scent profile. That I get. And in the base, it's a little bit ambery, but overall, it's a soft wearing tropical fragrance that feels like your skin, but better. And it does evoke sort of the image of sunshine and beach and summer. So I will enjoy it for what it is. After an hour, I don't really detect it on my skin, unfortunately, but I'll just keep spraying it. It smells fantastic. I love ylang ylang, and I like the way this one smells. So next, let's talk about one of the samples. So I was really impressed with both samples. They sent a sample of cow and a sample of harvest mouse. Now, harvest mouse, even though it gets great reviews, a lot of people like this one. For some reason, it just wasn't on my radar. And I have a ton of samples by the House of Zoologist. This wasn't one of them. So I never really paid attention, but it's fantastic. And cow, I did want to get my nose on. I was going to order a sample because it's a lactonic fragrance, and the way it was described seemed like it could be something that I would enjoy, and I do like it as well. But let's start with Harvest Mouse. So Harvest Mouse was released in 2023, and the nose behind this fragrance is Luca Maffei, and this one is, I think, a little bit difficult to describe. I find it a little bit difficult to describe. I have sprayed it a few times, including on skin. I made some notes, and we're gonna spray it on the blotter, and we'll talk about what I get. So to me, this opens up like this combination between something floral and I'm getting something mildly fruity, and it seems ambery. It seems like an ambery fragrance that has a freshness and something floral / fruity. I'm not sure where the fruity is coming from. And it has a nice sweetness as well, which probably comes from the benzoin in here. So it is ambery, it is resinous, and you do get the resinous sort of qualities, and there's a hay note. So there's definitely something that could be a little sweet from the hay, that could be a little dry from that hay as well. But overall, it's coming off like this resinous fragrance that has these touches of something sweet, but it's a warm sweetness. It's nothing sugary, it's nothing vanillic. It's definitely a warm sweetness, and there's definitely something a little bit almost fruity to my nose. I can't quite put my finger on it. And there is a beer note in here. And so there's something almost a little bit boozy, but I'm not sure that I would describe it as something predominant in the fragrance. In my mind, beer is dark and it's full-bodied and syrupy and wheat-like and earthy, and it goes hand in hand with, I guess, the hay in the fragrance, which is also like earthy and can be like a little grassy. It's nice, it's nicely done. I feel like it's a very smooth fragrance. I feel like it's a very round fragrance. Overall, the fragrance is warm. Overall, the fragrance is, I would say, like a medium tan color with this sort of almost dry quality from the hay, but at the same time, there's something a little bit syrupy that comes along with this dark, sort of warm sweetness in the fragrance. So it's a great resinous fragrance with sweetness. and it's really well done. And I want to wear the sample and sort of experience it as my scent of the day and see what I think. But as an early impression, I really do like this. So that's Harvest Mouse. So next, let's talk about Cow. This is so cute. I love the illustrations on the front of the bottles and even the samples. Harvest Mouse features a really cute mouse with a vest and a bow tie and a French beret. Really cute. And this one is a cow with a very lovely pom-pom hat. I love it. So Cow was released in 2022. The perfumer is Natalie Feisthauer. I hope I said that correctly. This one is a little bit more simple than Harvest Mouse. I feel like Harvest Mouse is complex, but at the same time, it comes off like a simple fragrance. I feel like it's really well done. This one did not impress me as much. However, I was looking for a full bottle of this on eBay and Mercari just to see if anyone might be selling a partial. There's something I really, really enjoy about this, and it's the dry down. It's not necessarily the opening of the fragrance, it's the dry down of this fragrance that I really enjoy. So this one opens with a tart apple, and it is so photorealistic. The apple is juicy. The apple is a green apple. So the green is Granny Smith, I think. I'm a big fan of apples. I think the green is Granny Smith. So it's tart. It's a green-skinned, juicy apple. Imagine sort of cutting it open. It's photorealistic. And along with this tart apple comes something almost a little bit milky, lactonic, that complements it. So this tart apple is there for about 45 minutes, I would say. I had this on skin twice, and so I took note of when the tart apple subsides and moves to the background, and that's when I feel that I personally love the fragrance. Even though the opening is interesting, the opening is not necessarily a scent profile that I would gravitate towards, but I love when it dries down. It turns into this powdery floral fragrance with notes that I love. It's a combination of heliotrope, there is violet, there's jasmine, there's lily of the valley, so it's a little bit green, it's powdery, it's floral, and there's a lactonic, creamy aspect that comes into play even more than in the opening. So in the opening, the lactonic aspect is just sort of hinted at together with this tart apple that overtakes the fragrance. It's center stage in the opening, but then it subsides, and I actually don't even think that I pick up on that apple as much once the fragrance starts to dry down, about 45 minutes in, especially in the dry down. And so you have this really powdery, almost clean scent profile, and it's not anything super unique. I'm sure I can find it in many other fragrances. And so do I really need this in my collection? No. I would go for a partial bottle, and maybe I would go for a full bottle or a travel size. Maybe a travel size would be the perfect compromise. So yes, it's lactonic. Yes, it's a little bit fruity from the apple, but overall it's a powdery sort of floral fragrance with heliotrope and violet and green aspects. There's definitely something green. In the opening, when I was making notes, the first time that I got my nose on the fragrance, I did not look at the note breakdown or the note listing. So it took me a few minutes to realize that it's a tart apple. And I said, I have this vision of a young girl in this cotton floral, like prairie-like dress that, by the way, are in like a dress by Adorn, if anyone knows that designer. Walking through a field of grass, it's sunny, the grass is sort of swaying from side to side, there's a breeze in the air, and there's lily of the valley that's also wafting, and the breeze is bringing the waft of the lily of the valley to the surface, and it's delicate, it's clean, it's powdery, and it's pretty. It's really pretty, and I like it. There's something I like about this. In the base is amber, musk, cedarwood, benzoin, and vetiver. So the base has some woody notes, and there's something a little bit sweet, and it's a little bit ambery. And it's just a pretty fragrance. So that's Cow. You guys can let me know in the comments what you guys think of this. The lactonic component is not overwhelming. I don't find it overwhelming. It accompanies the florals and adds a creaminess, but it's not super lactonic and overwhelming. There's a fragrance that I'm thinking of. I'll put the name up on screen. It's not as lactonic as that one. I can't remember the name right now. So that's Cow. So next, let's go to a sample here of Sacred Scarab, which I purchased at the suggestion of someone who made a comment on one of the videos. So this is not a sample that came with the purchase of the travel sizes. This is something that I purchased a while back, about a month ago. And I've been testing it, but there's not a huge dent in this little dabber style sample. So it is pre-blotted, but I will dip it again and we can talk about what it smells like from the opening to the dry down. I've had it on skin and I have some notes here. So this one was released in 2022 and the nose behind this fragrance is Sultan Pasha. And this is a Chypre fragrance basically. And I do enjoy Chypre fragrances. And this one is a little bit unique. It doesn't smell like any of the Chypre fragrances that I own or that are in my collection. So straight away in the opening, I get that it's an old world style fragrance, but it comes off a little bit musty. It's not just that it smells like an old world fragrance. It smells vintagey, but it also smells like an old bottle of perfume, if that makes sense. It reminds me of, I purchased a vintage bottle of Miss Dior by Christian Dior, really vintage, very dark juice. And once I put it on skin and once the top notes maybe have left the bottle, left the fragrance because of its age, when I get it on skin, there's sort of an old perfume scent that comes along with the fragrance that I think is from the age of the juice itself. And then once it starts to dry down and that goes away, I get the beauty of Miss Dior, the vintage Miss Dior. So this comes off to my nose how I perceive it. I can't help an association with an old bottle of perfume, like old juice. That could be good, that could be bad. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. It smells vintagey. It does smell like old world throwback to vintage style fragrance. And there's a pronounced, almost sour citrusy note. It's not effervescent. It's not like a clean bergamot or clean mandarin. It's not. It's something that's making it almost a little bit sour to my nose, but it's a pronounced freshness that comes from something citrusy in the fragrance. The fragrance itself is coming off like a greenish dark brown in color. The fragrance itself is coming off like a Chypre fragrance, but it's not a fresh, clean Chypre fragrance. I don't get pronounced florals, so it's on the darker side of a Chypre fragrance. And some of the green is coming from the galbanum in here. I definitely detect the galbanum. Even though there is oak moss in the base, and there is galbanum, I feel like the galbanum is more pronounced than the oak moss, but it does manage at the end of the day to give you a Chypre sort of scent profile for sure. But the galbanum is more pronounced than the oak moss in terms of the green aspect of the fragrance. There is myrrh in here, there's frankincense. It's rich, it's deep. I do pick up on the frankincense. It's something that runs through the fragrance, which is nice. And there is a wine accord in here, and I do pick it up, not as something boozy, but if any of you drink red wine, and if I do have wine, it's going to be red, not white. So it's not effervescent, it's musty. Like the bottom of a red bottle of wine, what you're left with, depending on the type of red wine, not that I'm a red wine expert, but there could be something full-bodied and almost a little bit musty about the alcohol scent profile that comes along with something like red wine, certain types, because a certain type that I would enjoy, a lighter type like a Chianti, would be a lighter sort of scent profile. It wouldn't meet the description that I'm trying to describe here. What I'm saying is that I'm getting a musty quality, a darker sort of red wine, a boozy quality in the fragrance. I do pick it up. But it's an interesting one. It's a different take on a Chypre style fragrance, but it's definitely an old world style fragrance, vintagey style. And like I said, it's sort of brownish in color, if I had to put a color to it. So that's it for today, guys. That's my take on these fragrances. I think I'm going to enjoy Bee and Chameleon in the travel size. Harvest Mouse is really great, very well done. I want to wear it as my scent of the day. This week I'll wear it maybe. And I love Cow. I think it's simple, but there's something so pretty about it. I'm going to go through that sample as well and maybe consider a travel size. So let me know in the comments what you guys think of these Zoologist fragrances. As always, thank you so much for watching, your support, and your comments. Until next time, bye guys.